Every year, millions of Americans make the gut-wrenching decision to pack up and leave their home states. But what happens when an entire state starts crumbling from the inside out? When economies dry up, crime skyrockets, and entire neighborhoods turn into ghost towns, it's no longer just a personal choice. It's a full-blown exodus. Right now, certain states are spiraling towards disaster, plagued by skyrocketing taxes, failing infrastructure, out-of-control homelessness, and industries collapsing faster than politicians can spin their next excuse. And here's the real question. Is your state next? In this deep dive, we're exposing the 8 fastest collapsing states in America, where people aren't just leaving, they're fleeing in record numbers. We're talking about places where businesses are shutting their doors for good, where housing costs have become so unbearable that middle-class families are now struggling like they're living in a third-world country, and where entire communities are being driven out by crime, corruption, and outright neglect. These aren't just isolated issues. This is the reshaping of America in real time. Some of these states may surprise you. Others? Well, if you live there, you probably already know the writing is on the wall. And when you see what's happening in the state ranked number 1, it's going to leave you questioning whether the American dream even exists in certain parts of the country anymore. So buckle up, because this list isn't just shocking, it's a warning. Let's get into it. Number 8, Oregon. Oregon might be synonymous with lush forests, craft breweries, and hipster coffee joints, but beneath the postcard-perfect veneer, the state is rapidly losing its luster for many residents. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Oregon experienced a net loss of nearly 35,000 people in the past 2 years alone, a trend that has some locals wondering if the fabled Pacific Northwest paradise is cracking under pressure. The cost of living is soaring at breakneck speeds. Houses in cities like Portland have seen their values skyrocket by nearly 35% in the last 5 years, leaving potential homeowners with sticker shock that rivals a major metropolitan hub like Seattle. Renters fare no better. Monthly rents have pushed past $1,800 for a modest one-bedroom, a huge leap from the national average of around $1,200. It's not just housing that's driving Oregonians to pack up. Wages haven't kept pace with these skyrocketing costs. While tech giants and trendy startups have flocked to spots like Beaverton or downtown Portland, much of the state's rural areas are grappling with underemployment and stagnant job growth. And then there's the growing social dilemma, a visible homelessness crisis that's reached unprecedented levels. Countless tent encampments have popped up along city sidewalks and public spaces, reflecting systemic issues that politicians have yet to solve convincingly. Adding to the frustration is the state's tax structure. Oregon famously doesn't have a sales tax, which once sounded great to newcomers, but high property taxes and a progressive state income tax, reaching up to 9.9%, can squeeze middle-class families who see their paychecks evaporate faster than a light Oregon drizzle. All these challenges paint a picture of a state struggling to preserve its natural beauty and liberal charm amid rising economic pressures. For many, the dream of Keep Portland Weird has turned into Keep Portland Affordable, prompting a mass reevaluation of whether Oregon still holds the promise it once did. Number 7, Louisiana. Louisiana might be world famous for its Mardi Gras beads, soulful jazz, and crawfish boils, but the cultural vibrancy is overshadowed by a tidal wave of residents choosing to leave. According to a 2024 report by the U.S. Census Bureau, nearly 28,000 people exited the Bayou State in the last year alone, and the reasons are piling up faster than floodwaters in hurricane season. Economic stagnation is a huge factor. While tourism and hospitality pump billions into New Orleans and Baton Rouge, these sectors often offer lower wages and limited upward mobility. Outside these urban centers, job prospects can feel downright bleak, with manufacturing and traditional energy sectors losing ground to automation and global market shifts. Natural disasters are another perennial nightmare for Louisianans. Hurricanes Laura, Delta, and Ida collectively racked up billions in damages in just the past few years, with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, estimating that recovery in some parishes could take a decade or more. Homes and infrastructure along the coast are in a near-constant state of rebuilding, and flood insurance premiums have gone through the roof, forcing many families to throw in the towel and relocate to drier, safer states. Then there's the issue of educational and healthcare deficits. Louisiana frequently ranks near the bottom on national metrics for K-12 performance and access to quality medical services. Many families worry about the future of their children's education and personal well-being in a state that struggles to fund its schools and hospitals adequately. Combine these hurdles with a poverty rate hovering around 18.5%, one of the highest in the nation, and you have a perfect storm fueling out migration. While the gumbo is spicy, the job market is not, leaving Louisianans to question how long they can weather these social, economic, and environmental storms before seeking stability elsewhere. Number 6. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, fondly dubbed the Keystone State, is witnessing cracks in its foundation as residents flood out in alarming numbers. Over 45,000 people left last year alone, according to recent census data, a trend that's been inching upward for the past 5 years. One glaring cause is the persistent industrial hangover in towns like Scranton, Erie, and Johnstown, where the collapse of coal and steel left behind hollowed-out job markets. Even Philadelphia, renowned for its historic sites and vibrant cultural scene, struggles to lure back the population lost to states with more robust economies and warmer climates. Economically, Pennsylvania finds itself wedged between the Northeast's sky-high taxes and the lure of business-friendly, low-tax states in the South and Midwest. While the state income tax rate is a flat 3.07%, one of the lowest in the country, property taxes in many counties are crippling homeowners, reaching effective rates that match or exceed those in more famously pricey states. Young professionals and families alike find this paradox baffling. A low state tax on paper doesn't always translate to lower overall costs when property bills skyrocket. Infrastructure woes add another layer of concern. Pennsylvania has one of the highest numbers of structurally deficient bridges in the country, according to the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. Coupled with aging water systems and a public transportation network that struggles to connect sprawling suburban regions, these challenges can make daily commutes downright frustrating. Then there's the looming pension crisis, tens of billions of dollars in unfunded liabilities, threatening the financial stability of future retirees and placing a burden on taxpayers. Despite iconic attractions like the Liberty Bell and the rolling farmland of Lancaster County, many Pennsylvanians see a future overshadowed by budget shortfalls and aging infrastructure. With uncertainty mounting, the Keystone State's once solid appeal is crumbling faster than many residents ever thought possible. Number 5. Mississippi. Mississippi's hospitality and sweet tea might be legendary, but even the state's famed southern charm can't mask the growing number of residents deciding to move on. According to data compiled by the Pew Research Center, Mississippi's outmigration rate rose by an eye-opening 12% in the last 2 years alone. Low wages and limited job opportunities play a massive role in this trend. The state's median household income barely inches above $48,000, a figure that places it dead last in the nation and sends many job seekers hunting for greener pastures in places like Texas, Tennessee, and Georgia. Education struggles are equally daunting. Mississippi's public schools often rank near the bottom in national testing scores, and underfunded school districts make it challenging to retain talented teachers. This, in turn, influences families looking to give their children better educational prospects. Then there's the healthcare system. Rural hospital closures have alarmed both locals and policymakers, leaving sizable swaths of the state without adequate medical care, a reality that forces many to relocate for health-related peace of mind. Infrastructure woes don't stop there. Roads and bridges across the Magnolia State are crying out for repairs, with some county officials likening the driving experience to navigating a patchwork of potholes that can rival a moon crater. The economy is also painfully reliant on agriculture and service industries, offering limited upward mobility. Even though the cost of living is among the lowest in the country, that benefit fades when stable, well-paying jobs are in short supply. Politicians have promised revitalization programs and tax incentives to attract new industries, but so far, these efforts haven't stemmed the outward tide. With the deck stacked against them, Mississippi residents are increasingly finding that the warmth of Southern hospitality may not be enough to keep them from packing up for a better shot elsewhere. Number 4, West Virginia. West Virginia's rolling hills and picturesque valleys have long inspired country ballads, but nowadays more people are singing the blues about its uncertain future. According to the West Virginia Center on Budget and Policy, the state lost over 15,000 residents in just the past year, a significant figure for a smaller population. Coal once powered the region's prosperity, but decades of decline in that industry have left entire towns on the brink of economic collapse. Machinery sits rusting in abandoned mines, and laid-off workers face a tough decision: stay and hope for a turnaround, or seek work elsewhere in growing fields like renewable energy or tech. Jobs aside, health and education metrics paint a sobering picture. West Virginia has one of the highest rates of opioid addiction in the nation, with rural counties particularly hard hit. Hospitals and rehab centers struggle to keep pace with a crisis that has touched nearly every family in some communities. The education system, saddled with limited state funding, tries valiantly to prepare students for a 21st century economy, but many graduates head out of state for college or better-paying jobs and never come back. This brain drain accelerates the cycle of decline, leaving behind a shrinking, aging population that strains medical and social services. Meanwhile, the cost of maintaining roads and bridges across the mountainous terrain puts a severe strain on the state's budget. Commuters find themselves on deteriorating highways that are both dangerous and costly to repair, limiting potential economic growth in more isolated regions. It's a vicious cycle. Fewer residents means a smaller tax base, which makes funding improvements increasingly difficult. Many West Virginians remain fiercely proud of their homeland, cherishing its serene landscapes and sense of community. But pride alone isn't enough to keep lights on and paychecks steady, fueling a migration trend that continues to diminish the state's once promising future. Number 3, Illinois. Illinois, once the industrial powerhouse of the Midwest, is now seeing a departure that feels more like a mass migration. According to the Illinois Policy Institute, the state lost a whopping 141,000 residents net in 2023, marking the 10th straight year of decline. Taxes top the list of complaints for many who bail out. Sky-high property taxes, averaging nearly 2.3% of a home's value, can run families out of Chicago's suburbs in search of less punitive rates. On top of that, the flat state income tax of 4.95% doesn't sound terrifying until you layer it with local sales taxes that can climb above 10% in some jurisdictions. Financial woes don't end there. Illinois grapples with one of the most significant pension crises in the nation, carrying a debt that soars north of $130 billion. This black hole in the budget threatens to swallow an ever larger chunk of state funds, making residents uneasy about future tax hikes or cuts to essential services. Chicago, often the main draw for job seekers, has wrestled with spikes in violence and an uptick in property crimes, prompting families and businesses alike to reconsider the city's appeal. Even big corporations, long anchored in the loop, have pulled back or downsized operations, citing the city's crime rates and cost of doing business. Beyond Cook County, much of rural Illinois feels neglected as manufacturing plants shutter and younger generations head for out-of-state universities or tech hubs like Austin and Seattle. Small-town mayors scramble for development grants to attract new businesses, but success stories are sparse. Of course, Illinois still holds on to its iconic attractions. From the breathtaking skyline of Chicago to the peaceful farmland that produces much of America's corn and soybeans. Yet those charms fall short when weighed against economic uncertainty, surging taxes, and a dwindling sense of safety. For many Illinoisans, the question isn't if they'll leave, but when. Number 2, California. California may boast sun-kissed beaches, star-studded film sets, and Silicon Valley's innovation hubs, but the Golden State is shedding residents faster than you can say traffic jam on the 405. The California Department of Finance reported that over 300,000 people left the state in 2023, a staggering figure that underscores shifting sentiments. Cost of living is the most glaring culprit, with median home prices hovering around $750,000 and rents easily surpassing $2,500 for a modest apartment. Californians often feel they're working just to pay the landlord. Add a top-tier income tax rate of 13.3% for high earners, and you've got a financial squeeze that pushes people to relocate to more tax-friendly states like Texas, Arizona, or Nevada. Traffic is another nightmare that drains the state's allure. Los Angeles and the San Francisco Bay Area consistently rank among the worst in the nation for commute times, leaving residents fuming in bumper-to-bumper gridlock. Then there's the environmental toll. Devastating wildfires and water shortages have intensified over the last few years, prompting existential questions about long-term livability and resource management. Even major tech companies, once steadfast pillars of California's economy, have moved headquarters or expanded elsewhere, citing housing unaffordability and complex regulations. Quality of life concerns don't stop at costs and commutes. Crime spikes in certain urban areas and the visible homelessness crisis have many Californians questioning the state's priorities. Public schools, while excellent in affluent districts, can lag behind in under-resourced communities, contributing to widening social gaps. While the allure of palm trees and year-round sunshine still captivates newcomers, it's not enough for droves of longtime residents who feel they can find better jobs and more affordable lifestyles in the nation's heartland. California's culture of ambition and reinvention might be legendary, but for many, that next big reinvention is taking place somewhere else. Number 1, New York. New York, the Empire State once synonymous with boundless opportunity, has been watching its population numbers drop off a cliff in recent years. According to a 2024 report by the U.S. Census Bureau, the state lost nearly 200,000 residents in a single year, a departure that has locals asking whether the bright lights of the Big Apple are dimming. High costs are the most frequent complaint. The median home price in New York City hovers around $720,000, while rent for a tiny studio can top $3,000 per month in Manhattan. Factor in some of the steepest taxes in the country, income tax rates edging above 10% for top earners, plus sky-high property taxes in the suburbs, and suddenly that dream brownstone or high-rise view isn't quite so dreamy. Even beyond finances, there's the issue of quality of life. Congested subways, rising crime rates, and a lingering sense of unease post-pandemic have pushed many New Yorkers to seek greener or at least less crowded pastures in places like Florida, Texas, and North Carolina. Remote work has also lifted the veil on the necessity of living in a cramped and often overpriced apartment. Why deal with hustle-bustle stress when you can keep your New York salary while enjoying the cost of living advantages of a different state? The ripple effect extends upstate, too. Smaller cities like Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse continue to bleed residents as manufacturing jobs vanish and cold winters become more unappealing compared to the South's milder climate. New York's massive infrastructure, its roads, bridges, and rail lines, requires constant, costly upkeep, straining an already overburdened budget. Sure, the cultural offerings of Broadway and the museums remain unparalleled, but when everyday expenses feel suffocating, the bright lights can lose their shine. For many former New Yorkers, the promise of the Empire State has turned into a clarion call to find opportunity elsewhere, and they're answering in record numbers. Thank you for watching.